city is only a day away from the green inferno of the Amazon jungle. 4 Americans plunge into the savagery of the Amazon jungle to film a documentary. They never come back. Are they still alive? If so, where are they? Shocking. Actually filmed in the Amazon jungle.
Starts this coming Friday at the Town Theater. Due to shocking scenes of violence, no one under 17 will be admitted.
Welcome back.
Waiting for cow.
Welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting shirt design for Colin.
That's the truth. It took 200,000 turtles. All color turtles.
You see how this works?
You know,
She gets all the applause,
something.
and she's talking while I'm trying to talk. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah, yes, of course. It is now.
Round of applause.
That's not necessary. That's not necessary. Thank you.
No, it is very necessary.
All right.
Okay, so shall we start with how you get to know, because your stories are very different in how you get to know Eugenioercolani and how you got costume. So, shall you start, Francesca? Do you want to tell us a little bit on how you get to know Deodato?
You know, casting director and that was simple, but it was a long story on the mic. Oh my God. Okay, I knew Ruggero, name of Ruggero, because he was the brother of one of my friends in school. We were in the same class in the girls' school, and Ruggero was his brother. So I knew him, not knew him, but I knew him, you know, the brother of my friend at school. That's it. That's the long story.
What about you, Carl?
So the question is Ruggiero, or how did I get in this movie?
How do you get in the film, and how was it meeting Ruggiero?
Okay, so you probably all know this story. I'll tell you. It was a Friday afternoon in New York. Casting director called me. He said, "Are you available?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Will you go to South America for a month?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Get over here." So I got over there. I said, "Who am I? What am I doing?" He said, "Just come as you are. Just get over here." So I got there. There was a guy, Italian guy. He had a picture, and he had my picture. Or I gave it to him, and then you have a picture. You put your resume on the back of the picture. So he turned over, looked at my resume. He's like, pretended like he read it. I don't know. He looked at it. He goes, "What size shoes do you wear?" And I said, 10.5. He goes, "Oh, you wait in the other room." I was in every play in high school, 4 years of college. I worked professionally as an actor the entire time I was in college. I had done 3 national tours of Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I had done a lot of work, and I had been studying with one of the most famous acting teachers in New York, named Uta Hagen, and they booked me because I had the right size shoes. So, Harry.
There was a story. There was a story.
So that was Friday. Monday I flew to Bogota, spent 2 nights in Bogota, and then Wednesday morning, that's me. Wednesday morning, they flew me to Leticia, which is a little town down there. There was a guy named Salvatore who flew with me, who grew up next to an army base, an American army base in Italy, spoke English. He was an Eagle Scout. He was, boy, he saved me. So we get there, they put me in a little van, they drove me, they put my bags in a little bungalow, they put me in a boat, the boat drove up the river, like 40 minutes, and there's sharks and piranha
And crocodile.
and we're going, then we took a right turn and we're going up this little tributary, and then some shit starts flowing. A dead monkey floated by, a human leg floated by, and I'm like, uh-oh, what happened? What am I doing? I'd never read the script. I never had my own copy of the script because I replaced a guy who had size 10.5 shoes, and they had bought the costume for him already. So, and off the thing, there was these boards, because there's no, like, all the earth down there on the river is really soft. It's muddy. So these boards and from the thing. And there's Ruggiero, and he goes, "Oh, my star! What a wonderful face! Okay, costume, makeup." And he handed me a camera, and I still don't know what the movie's about. I haven't read the script. I don't know anything. And he handed me a camera. He said, "Just stand there." And it was the shot where Jorge, I don't know what his name was in the movie, had been bitten.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
He'd been bitten, and he was
Cut
the guy, and he was like, "Chop my leg off quick before the poison gets to me," So they had him buried like in a pit up to his neck somehow. No, up here, so you couldn't see his leg, I think. And I'm supposed to be filming him, and he dies, and that was my first shot in the movie.
Now, let's try to separate fact and fiction. Now, there are two very different theories about the script. On the one side, Ruggiero has often, as most people know, gone to the record saying he pretty much had just a general idea of where he wanted to go with the film and invented it on the day. Now, however, there is a script deposited at the National Archive in Rome, written by Cardi, which is very precise. It's called Children of the Moon, and it was written for Ruggiero. What was the script?
No, the script, I never had it. I just had a line. There was not a script. There was a line. We go eventually from here to there, and the script we're gonna see on the shooting. So we're gonna improvise. Come si dice improvvisare?
Improvise.
We're gonna improvise as we go. All right. So there was a general script, but not exactly. It was not a classic script. There is no way that it was 10 pages. So I don't know if he hid the script and didn't give it to us. This is, I don't know. Or they write it afterwards. That's, I don't know. Maybe they wrote afterwards, during the something, Clerici was eventually changing or writing. And then I suppose, because the point is that Ruggiero always said, I send the reel to Roma, to the producer, and the producer answered to me, because we say, Ruggiero, you stop killing animals, and he said, I cannot do anything, because I send the reels to Roma, and Roma send it to me, and answer, say, kill more animal, do this, do that. So at some point we said, no, we're not going to shoot anymore, finito. When it's arrived the point that it was the monkey story, we said, okay, you're going to do this to the monkey, we're going to stop shooting. And we really was stopping shooting. He killed the monkey anyhow, and nobody stopped shooting. Only me, at some point, I was so mad that I went, and then they catch me back. But they removed my passport, so I couldn't really go anywhere. That's the story, the real story.
What is your recollection, Carl?
We were in two different movies.
At some point, yes.
Well, the night I got there, he gave me a copy of the script, and I read it. I read the whole script.
The full script.
The full script.
Oh dear.
Of course, I made the mistake of reading it during dinner. So I'm trying to eat, and I'm reading it, and as an actor, what happens is, for me, I can barely tell what the story is. I'm looking at what they want me to do, and I'm looking for all those places that scare the fuck out of me. So, I try to eat something, and then I turn the page and go, oh, and turn the page and go, oh,
Why did I
oh
end
my
up?
God, I have to rape this girl, and oh my God, I gotta get naked in front of these Italians, and then, it was like that. And so that's the only time I saw my script. The rest of the time it was like we call them sides in the movie business. They give you, a couple of pages, whatever pages
Yeah,
you're doing that day. And it would have helped, because I had all the words in this art part of the movie where I was narrating this, what were we doing, a documentary?
Yes, some kind of documentary
Yeah, yeah.
in the jungle.
So I had all these words that I was supposed to be able to just deliver to the camera as if I knew what I was talking about. And we get to the set in the morning, and I get my words, and then I'm pretty quick. I'm a quick study, and I'm going to tell the story about the pig, okay? So, because I want you to like me. So the pig, we ride through set every day, and this one day I'm in the boat with this little pig. Piggy and I get friendly. We're very friendly. That's my friend. And then we get to the set, and they built a village. And he says, now in this, we've already done the monkey. They killed the monkey. We huddled together, Francesca and I, behind a tree, so we couldn't have to watch. It
was a story like, look, I don't remember the story, but really seriously don't remember.
That was a hard day.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Consider that Parry Percana, do you know Parry, the other guy? He stopped doing cinema in all his life. He didn't want to hear any story, doesn't come.
Disappeared
anywhere.
completely.
Yeah,
Well, he did the turtle.
He did the turtle, poor guy.
Yeah.
He did the turtle. And then, it's completely in another way. Because he had this lesson, no? So this is shooting a movie, so I'm not going to do it
But
anymore.
didn't he do another movie with Eugenio?
No, he badly forget it.
He appears in Cannibal Ferox in a small scene, Umberto Lenzi Cannibal movie from 1981.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a small role in New York, not in the jungle. It's none of the jungle part.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing.
So, we get to the set. Ruggiero says, okay, he goes, sweep down through the village, and then you're going to shoot the pig, and then deliver all these lines to the camera. And I'm like, okay. Do you want me to yell bang, when I shoot the pig? It's like, bang! He goes, no, it's a live round, you're going to actually kill this pig. And I said, I actually, I kind of had a flash forward in life to this moment. To this moment, where I would have to defend killing that pig. So I said, no, I won't do it. And things changed that day, by the way.
Yeah, it was Luca that killed the pig.
Well, it was Luca, but everyone looked at me and went, he's just an actor, he's not a murderer. So I said, I'm not going to do it. And Ruggiero said, Luca, we're going to sweep down through the village, and you're going to shoot the pig. And then he said to me, I've only got one pig, so don't fuck this up. So I got my words that morning. There were a lot of them, and he had the script guy wandering around after me. I forget who that guy was. He got sick and got sent back up to. Anyway, he was wandering around after me, drilling me on these words, drilling me on the words. So, okay, so we come in and sweep down through the village, and I walk past the pig, and the camera's right there, and I hear the report from the rifle, and I hear the report from the pig. How?
No.
And I went up, everything was gone. My mind was blank. And I looked at the camera like this, and Eugenio was behind the camera. And those corny things where somebody's shaking their fist? He was shaking his fist at me. And the one thing I remembered was the cue for the next action, which was for them to try to burn those people down in that, when they set fire to the thing. You remember it. You love that part, right? Those human beings cooking in there, Ruggiero telling them, no, stay, don't go, no, don't run, don't come out yet, don't come out yet, don't come out yet. And they did it. So, Yeah, well, just after that, you know, I felt, you know, I didn't have the respect for people on the way they used to, because I wouldn't shoot that big, and that's, you know.
Speaking of Ruggerodeodato's attitude, he states that, well, he was indeed going through a very difficult divorce around the time he does Cannibal Holocaust. And he, you know, he mentions in quite a few interviews that that gave him an extra rage. I believe that's the
I
way.
always choose, we don't want to sign the product, let's say, this is very commercial for them. And sorry, there is no other justification. They did a great job because he did a beautiful movie. But you know, it was not so, you know, it was like, when he answered me, you know, when I send the real to Roma said killing more animals, is meaning that they're doing a job for, you know, it's not for the in deal, it's for selling. It's just the same, you know, just commercial. And he did a great job. You cannot say anything. Now we are all here to talk about because he did an enormously beautiful job, but then the rest, you know, it was because of the divorce, or because it was of this or that, and that, there is no justification. It's not justified the fact that the movie is whatever it is. No? It is what it is.
Would you do it again?
No. Never.
Would you, Carl?
Sure.
There is a scene which is incredibly powerful within the narrative of the film, and it's the scene in which, after there's been the aggression on the villagers, you two have a love-making scene.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable scene. How did that come to be?
It came to be that this love scene has always been, I knew that I have to do a love scene, okay? So at this point, I think that has been a beautiful scene because I was hungry. Come si dice? Arrabbiata.
Oh, angry.
I was angry, so the scene is angry because, you know, I remember I didn't want to do it, and I removed the shirts or whatever, you know, in a nasty way that is not my way. Okay, maybe, but I don't know. It's not my normal way to know myself, you know. And so it came a beautiful scene. The scene is beautiful. It's horrible in the meaning that I was not expecting that the love scene was with everybody watching. So, you know, you see this, I was expecting a scene in a private, whatever. No, it has to be in front of everyone watching. Okay. What can you say? I was there. I couldn't do anything else. I had to do it the best as I could. So I tried.
Well, you said it looked uncomfortable. Is that it?
Well, I always thought that was what it was supposed to be.
It was great. Well, so just in case you weren't there, you know, and I told somebody this at the table. Okay, so Saturdays, Sundays, we had Sundays off, and Saturday there was a pool where we were living, and so I'd seen everybody in the crew in their little, you know, speedos, and so I said, "Tell you what, I'll unbuckle my pants, I'll try my pants, and then you cut to that guy, you know, because that'll make a much better movie. I swear to God." But they're like, "No, no, no." So it was MOS, which means without sound, so there's no sound. And it was a bamboo maybe?
Yeah, some kind
The
of.
floor was awful. The floor was like these sticks that were uneven and had knots and shit sticking up. And we had to roll around there, and
I have to roll around.
yeah, well, I did some rolling too, and we did 5 takes, and then
I didn't remember it was 5 days.
yeah, it was 5. Here's why I know. Because it was like this. Every time we had to do something, like we raped that girl, and then it was like lunchtime, and then, you know, and then it was like, okay, lunchtime. So in the background, if you watch that, there's a bunch of the native people in the river, and then we all go to lunch. We all had the same cheese sandwich for lunch every day.
Yeah.
Cheese sandwich,
Yeah, some kind.
So I'm in line to get my cheese sandwich, and this guy comes up and he goes, fight time. I'm like, Fight Thai? I don't speak, I don't know what you're saying. He goes, Fight Thai, Fight Thai. And I'm like, oh no. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was like, Fight Thai. I might have said something like, you know, I was practicing last night on your mother. I don't think I said that. So that's how I know it was 5 times, because that guy told me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because they were watching.
5 times.
Yeah, 5 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Possible.
So it was-
You know, I remove it. I don't remember all of these details. I remember because I saw the movie. And so, of course, I still remember because sometimes I see the movie. But, you know, I didn't remember it was 5 times.
Yeah. Do you remember Ruggiero yelling?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
Luca Barbareschi, about 3 years ago, and actually also production designer Antonello Gelling, Massimo Antonello Gelling, both went on the record talking about, and they say they themselves did use of drugs, but there was a lot of drugs on the set of Cannibal Holocaust. What, do you recall any drug
Give
use?
me any
I
motherfucker.
didn't have any. So I was in my bungalow, so the people do the drug. Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of cocaine, I suppose, running around, but it was not for me.
Well, Letizia was in fact the town in which was shipped to go to the United States, cocaine. So, and on that note,
I was like a little Vispa Teresa. How do you translate Vispa Teresa?
an innocent soul.
Yeah, you know, this kind of stuff, not for other, but this thing, so.
Now, I have maybe a slightly strange question. Now, Cannibal Holocaust, regardless of its problematic aspects, is an incredibly powerful film, and it has something to say. It resonates above and beyond the violence. If not, any cannibal movie would be as famous as that. Whereas Cannibal Holocaust stands and towers over everybody. Was Ruggerodeodato a cultured director? Was he more instinctive? Did he know? Did he realize what he was doing? Because the impression I was getting, he was a great technician with a great gut for instinct, rather than somebody who knew what he was putting together.
I cannot give you an answer. I'm not in the skin of Ruggero, I don't know, but I suppose that he knew very well what he was doing. As you said, you know, of course, otherwise the movie would never, so you have to say something. The movie has came out like a special something. So if it came out as a special something, you should have some special director. Someone special was in this movie. So you cannot remove the fact that he knew what he was doing, or he knew what he was wanted, you know, what he was. He knew, definitely.
What was your impression of Ruggero's? Do you think he knew exactly how powerful what he was doing was?
Exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
And you know, I said this to somebody at the table too. It's like, you know, you'd ask me would I do it again. I would do it again because I like the adventure. I don't know if I'd do another picture with him. And it's a weird one though, because what Ruggiero did was he pushed me past all of my limits. He made me go past them. And he wasn't going to stop at anything.
It was abusive. He was.
Well, but that's what a director has to be when he wants to get what he wants, you know? Because I'm a human. I'm a human. Like I said, I want everybody to like me. So, are you going to like me if I'm a rapist? Maybe some of you are. I know that. You know? I know which ones you are. And, but I don't want to like show the public that, oh boy, I'm going to rape this. Feels good, and I'm going to do it. Well, he got me to do that. See, that actually, I tried to be sick that morning. That didn't work. They're like, okay, you'll be on the second boat, you know. So, did he know what he was doing? So, maybe little known fact, not so little. I taught screenwriting and story structure at Stanford University for 5 years. I have that background. When I see a movie like this with the story structure and all the layers and all these sort of mythological layers and when I see that nobody does that by accident. It can't be by accident. The things that happen by accident are not are not story-wide. Sometimes there's a moment in a movie that happens by accident that they keep because it works, you know. But no, Ruggiero knew what he wanted, and he knew just how abusive he had to be to get it, you know.
What about now, Ruggiero said he tried to get both of you on another film subsequent to Cannibal Holocaust. Is this true? And
Yeah, me for certain. He offered me immediately another movie. And I said no.
do you remember what that was?
Yeah, La Casa.
The House on the Edge of the Park.
Immediately after he did the same movie, and he wanted to sign me for a few years or whatever with the same production. So I don't forget it, never more. So I've been friends with Ruggiero now, then personally I became friends with Ruggiero, whatever. And I have shot some advertising with him, but never more with him. Never more, never. It was impossible, you know, was really an abusive guy. And then the movie that he was shooting, like The House in the Park, there was some scene that I didn't want to shoot, so I said, no, forget it, take some others.
About that,
I
how
don't know if you offer him something, but definitely for me, yes, he did.
were you offered a role?
I never heard from him again.
Yeah.
How has it been living with Cannibal Holocaust? Has it the
Shame.
shame?
Absolutely. But you have to remember, to remember that the movie has been shot, I don't know, something kind of, I don't say 50, but almost 50 years ago. So we're not today. Today is something, you know, 50 years ago, or almost 50, it was another something. And the fact to have, to have been part of this movie has made me sick for many years. So I removed it from my CV and I no, forget it, you know. I brush it away like this. And then I went doing theater for a few years and then television and other kind of movies or whatever, but you know, and then push it like this, and then the movie came back to me because it's been such a big success. So
What about you?
it's the movie that ran back to me, it's not me running back to the movie, so that's it.
I have no shame at all. So is there shame about this movie? Can't get there? No. I'm an actor. I was an actor. When they offer you a job, you take the job if you want to be an actor. And
Yeah, but you take a job, no, it's something that is different to what you take, no, isn't it?
well, I'm sorry to hear that you feel that shame. I don't.
Yeah, very sure.
Every time I turn the TV on, I see an actor doing something, I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore. Because, you know, it's so weird. Being an actor is really weird. And when people say things like, oh, why did that guy do that shitty movie? Or, you know, it's like, because he's an actor and you take the next job. You just do. And go look at anybody you know and like in the movies or in TV and look them up and look at all the shitty things they had to do. Because, you know, you don't know when your next job is going to be.
Oh, because in fact, the life, I would say something more, you know, apart the fact that I'm still ashamed about the movie, still ashamed relatively, but you know, long time passed. Yeah, you know, every movie tell the story, and some kind of story is a human story. So I understand what he wants to say. You don't take a movie because you have to take a movie. You can choose to don't take a movie, you know?
You go, I
Yes,
couldn't.
but in fact, every movie has some kind of limits, you know? So it tells you a story that is not usual. Because if I have to shoot a movie today, I tell you something that, you know, our simple, normal, today life, nobody gonna watch
Well, you
this
didn't know
movie.
what this movie was when you took the job.
Grosso modo, but not people like this.
Right, you didn't know. So you can't be responsible for the content.
Yes, I can be responsible because at some point I knew yes, of course I can. Because you can stop it.
But they were gonna shoot around you the way they shot around me before I got there.
Yes, but once you're there and you see that the story is like this, you can say, sorry sir, take another person with my number of shoes. He's gonna come. You know, in 5 minutes you're gonna get another one. I didn't. So at some point, no, I didn't. I should have done it. I didn't. So I'm perfectly responsible of, you know, the point is the point. Yeah. the guy of 41, you know, 41, 10 and a half, 41, 43, I don't know what it is, the number in the United Kingdom or in Italy or whatever. You know, your 10 and a half other guy, he said, I'm so sorry guys, I don't come. Did he? That's why you came.
I didn't even know the name of the movie.
Oh, yeah. But the guy that he refused to come at some point, he had, you know, they prepare all
He read the script.
Yeah, he read the script. And he said, I'm so sorry, thank you to buy the shoes for me, but I'm not coming.
So I guarantee you he's not a working actor today.
I don't know if he came for one day and then he went away. I don't remember because there's something I don't collect. I don't recollect. It's possible he came one day and then he went. It's possible. I don't remember.
I don't have any idea.
So they're going to catch you. They want to catch you.
Now, speaking a little bit about your fellow actors, Ruggero pretty much consistently in every single interview has always spoken ill on the record about Robert Kerman or Richard Bolla, the Dr. Monroe in the film. Do you
spoken well or not well?
Not well, not well. And he would go back and, if he could, he would recast him. He didn't know. He claims he didn't know he was a hardcore actor, porn actor. All that. So, do you, first of all, what do you remember of Robert Kerman? And
he was a lovely guy and Ruggero knew perfectly that he was a sexy guy. I would say, so he knew. So I don't know what he said after, you know, but he knew perfectly. Because he told me.
oh, there you
So
go.
everybody knew that he was, you know,
Adult
Did you
before.
meet Kerman at the-
Yes, I did, I suppose, yes. And so some point in the between, we met him.
Because when I met him,
I met him in a convention, or I met him in the set. Ah, he went to shoot another movie.
Yeah.
Yes, the one that I refused.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I met him
Yeah.
because, you know, when I refused the movie, Ruggero invited me to the set, you know.
House on Edge of the Park.
See.
But Robert Kerman in his previous film, he isn't in House on the Edge of the Park. David Hess is.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Who actually you do meet on Cannibal Holocaust because he shot a part in New York where some of the crew was.
I don't know if I were in this part.
But you know, you could have gone and already been in
I
back.
don't remember.
Okay. So we're nearly done. Obviously, we can't talk about Cannibal Holocaust and not to touch upon the aftermath. You know, once it's released in Italy, it gets banned,
Yes.
sequestered. What do you remember about everything that ensued?
But I was very happy that was been done. So I say, I'm saying that I'm going to show this movie. Oh, fantastic. And then I remember that he had to go to the tribunal, you know, with Luca to demonstrate that we had not been killed. Because everybody said, okay, this was a spoof movie, so we kill everyone. So he had a processo, you say, a trial. So they called him for a trial. I remember this. But any question?
Yes. Do you have anything to say about the aftermath, about when it was released?
First of all, I never heard that we were supposed to stay out of. I never heard that. No, you know, it's like anybody. I don't like to say this in front of y'all because you like that part. You know, people like that part. Oh, you had to hide out for.
Yes.
I'm a fucking actor. You think I'm gonna go hide? I can't really make a living hiding. Anyway, so if you want to believe that, please keep believing. I didn't hide, but like I said, I was I had this other life as I was a freelance reader in New York. I read scripts and books for movie companies and publishing companies, and I was working for the United Artists Company, who had a deal to distribute this movie in America. I'm walking down the hall in United Artists one day, and I hear this guy going, "Fuck! Holy fuck!" like that. And I go by the office and I see him. I go, "What happened?" He goes, "God, you gotta come and see this." And he's got these production shots from Cannibal Holocaust on his desk. And he goes, "Can you believe this?" And I went, "Holy shit." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "No, that's me." And he goes, "No, Yes, no. I'm like, holy fuck, we're standing there, two strangers going, holy fuck, like this. And he promised to get me the production shots, and I still have his name. I'm gonna track that fucking guy. Because he never gave me the production shots, and then it got banned. But like I've said to some of you at the table, I was absolutely positive when I left the Amazon River that nobody was ever going to see this movie. I was so sure of that because, you know, we're 1,800 miles from the Atlantic with these fucking weird cannibal Italians and shit. You know, I don't know what their deal was. I didn't speak Italian. I don't know what they're talking about. You know, they gave me my money. I got on the plane. I stopped off in Bogota and got a little marching powder for a minute, you know. I got off the plane in New York. I was a wreck, you know, and then I went on with my life. So the aftermath, just another little story. I did a movie called Jack the Bear with Danny DeVito. And I hadn't actually had an acting job for 9 years because I went into the other side of the business. So, but I got this audition. So I go in and it'd been so long, I didn't want to put a resume on my picture. So I didn't. So the director says, he looks at the back of the picture, he goes, there's no resume on here. I said, you know what? My resume is full of lies. I just decided I'm gonna lie right to your face. He goes, okay, what have you done? And I said, well, I just finished doing, I did 100 performances of Hamlet on Broadway. He goes, yeah, I saw that. What else have you done? I said, well, I've done a lot of movies, but none of them have been released yet. He finished the sentence with me. None of them have been released yet. He said, okay, that's good. What have you really done? I said, well, I starred in this movie called Cannibal Holocaust. He goes, let's just do the audition. Because he'd never heard of it. He'd never heard of it. And then I did another movie called Idle Hands, and the director of that had seen the movie in Times Square the only week it played in America. And he's the guy that sent me my first VHS version of this movie. This is 20 years later. So the first time I saw it was on VHS, which was a dub of a European version of the movie. So the sound was a different compression. It was PAL instead of NTSC, something like that. So here's what we sounded like. We're going into the jungle, we're going to make some candles. And I'm like, this is not a scary movie. This is like a cartoon. This is like Chip and Dale. And then I got to the turtle. I'm like, oh God, I'm sorry I saw that. And then my wife saw a little bit of it, and was like, I'm not watching this. And she's still married to me. Anyway, that's the aftermath for me. 20 years later, I finally saw it.
The movie was 20 years after.
Yeah.
You never seen it before?
No.
Oh gosh.
Sage and Bob Moronsky came and found me and to do the interview for the 25th anniversary DVD.
All right.
They called me up, they're like, are you the guy that was in Cannibal Holocaust? I'm like, yeah. We want to interview you. It's like, what are you, is this a student film deal you're doing? Who are you? You know, I'm Sage Stallone. It's like, yeah. Everybody's Sage Stallone. I don't know. I didn't believe him. I actually thought it was a college, you know, project. And I didn't know that Bob Moronsky, who was half of Grindhouse, he's the editor for all of Sam Raimi's films. You know, he just finished another one, and these guys were the real thing. And they brought me to my first show in New Jersey. I don't think you were there. That's where I met.
Yes, I
Herman
went
the
there.
first time.
Yeah, I went there.
No, that was the second time. My second show.
Your second one?
When Mike Barone's from.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was before that, and that's where I met Kerman, and he said, well, we met on the Amazon, and I'm like, I don't remember you know? Then I sat next to him. You all know who Robert Kerman is?
Yeah.
I mean, he's dead, so he can't defend himself. I'm gonna tell you this. We're sitting there, you know, people are coming, I'm like, I don't know what the hell's happening. They said, we're gonna take you to these shows so you can meet your fans. I'm like, I don't know if I want to meet these people. You know? So we're sitting at the table, and Kerman is at that point in his life, not so stable. Well, yeah, that's a nice way to say he was fucking out of his mind. And full of guilt and shame and remorse. So, people come to the table and they go, wow, you killed that animal in the movie. I shouldn't have killed him. Ruggero's a fucking asshole. I shouldn't have fucking killed that. It's like, okay. And then they come and bring some, we want you to sign this porn thing. And she's like, I shouldn't have done all that porn. And I'm like, So, basically his message was, I used to have hair. I used to have teeth. My dick doesn't work anymore. And I'm sorry I'm me. That was kind of his whole message. And I said, Robert, these people want to give you money. He's like, yeah. I said, so whatever they say to you, just say thank you. Just say thank you. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. I don't know if you ever met him. He was, he was riddled with.
It was out of his mind?
Oh, yeah. David Shulkin, did you ever know David?
No.
Who worked for Sage and Bob.
I'm like a Whisper Teresa, you know that I'm like this, I don't know anything.
No, but you knew that side with Luca and Ruggero, and I know these guys over here. Anyhow, yeah, he would call David every day. It was a sad ending to Robert Kermit, put it that way.
So we have time for a few questions. There we go.
Yeah, in the years following Cannibal Holocaust, and particularly in the 90s, when you had things like The Last Broadcast come out and Blair Witch, was there a moment that either of you had where you thought, wow, we did that first, we were the first to do that kind of footage thing before it became a genre of its own?
There were,
The Blair Witch.
okay.
In the times.
Just in case you don't know, this is probably the only more movie like this I've ever seen and probably ever will see, because it's just not my genre. So when Blair Witch happened, I had no idea until my friends called up and went, hey, there's this movie that copied your movie. I'm like, okay, you don't want me to watch it, do you? Like that. Horror movies scare me. They don't scare you?
No, they love it so much. This is your public.
I was telling somebody, I went, what was that one? Poltergeist. I went to see Poltergeist. I went to a screening of Poltergeist. The guy in front of me kept turning around and going, will you quit kicking my chair? I'm like, did you see what just happened? It scared me, So it's not my world, So I didn't know. But I met the last show I did in Kentucky, don't go. Blair Witch was sitting right across the aisle from me, so I went over and introduced myself, and they had no idea. The actors from that movie didn't know that they had done the second version of Cannibal Holocaust. By the way, one more thing. Ruggero sent me a treatment for the sequel, where we go back to Letitia, yeah, and then the people who were in the movie get their revenge on us for what we did to them while we were making the movie. And he loved me, he really did. He had me impaled on the fucking stick.
Any other question?
Yes, please, question.
Despite it being a very horrific film, obviously, Cannibal Holocaust has a very beautiful score by this old lady. So I thought I'd like listen to the score outside of the film and what it calls about.
Did you ever listen to the score composed by Eugenio Ercolani? And what do you think of it?
See, this is I did, because I've been invited. Yes, I've been invited, I remember. But when they were editing Cannibal Holocaust, I'd been invited to Ercolani home. So I went with Ruggero, with Ercolani, and I hear the sound, and so I knew it was so beautiful. It was so amazing. Bellissimo musica, beautiful.
I wanted that as a walk down the aisle with my wife kiboshed it. And find out it was from Cannibal Holocaust. Went, no, we're not having
It was
that.
amazing. And it was, the contradiction between the movie and the sound, the music is so amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The contradiction is splendid. That's why I have to say that it was absolutely amazing.
Hold on. I have hearing aids. Sometimes they get clogged up, and also you guys have an accent that I'm not used to yet. Did you say you walked down the aisle to the Cannibal Holocaust? Did you say that?
We were planning
The music.
when we were planning the wedding, I played the music to my wife, and she thought, oh, that's lovely. I said, that's from Cannibal Holocaust. And she went, no, we're not walking down the aisle to that. So we walked down the aisle to the music from True Romance.
True Romance.
Instead.
Fine. Okay. Are you still married?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she would not do the yeah. And also, when I was about 12-year-old, Cannibal Holocaust into school, and said it was a documentary on South American tribes. As soon as the title came up, the teacher went, no! So it starts that beautiful music, the title comes up and he just went, no, we're not watching that.
Legend.
Tried to get away with it.
Your wife and I would get along just fine.
Yeah.
One.
The turtle that did it.
There we go. Another question.
It's not really a question, but a couple of years ago, Perry Pearson did appear in a film.
That's what somebody, did you
Yeah,
tell me that?
no, I can't remember the name of the film, but if you trade us on YouTube, if
Somebody
you check it
told
out,
me what the name is.
yeah, he's briefly on screen for like 2 seconds, so you can see. Yeah, he's still out there.
I kept in
doing
touch
something.
with Barry a little. He lived
Oh, you did?
Well, he lived down in the village, and I lived, I don't know where I lived. We were both in New York City, and yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so he's still out there. Yeah.
He's a hard one. You can see how charming I am. Come on. You know, how can he resist? I really had. Was it his best friend who I replaced? I think it was his best friend.
I don't remember even this because I have not been, just they told me, like you called Letizia, make the movie. This is the screen, the line of the screen.
Yeah.
And my first movie came out from the acting school, just came out. First movie, I said, so lucky. I just came out from an acting school, I had already been in a movie. Okay, fine. So I went enthusiastic. All of this story I didn't know.
Well, do you remember we ran into each other at Bloomingdale's in New York City?
After.
Yeah, after the movie.
After the movie, yes.
Yeah.
But I was in New York, I was by myself, because after the movie I didn't want to come back to Italy directly. So I went to New York, some friends said I had to disappear from movies, so I spent time in New York. And maybe I wanted to do something else or whatever. And so we met in Bloomingdale, and I do remember.
New York, if you've never been there, go there, stay a week or two, you'll meet everybody you ever met. Everybody's in New York. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, but no longer. It was the time. At the time, yes, everybody wanted to be in New York. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Sorry.
No, another question.
One last question.
Yeah, of course.
So Francesca, I know you're not proud of the film, you're ashamed of it, and Carl, you like being on film, but you don't like horror films. Have either of you, I think the answer is going to be no, seen the recent movie The Green Inferno, which of course is kind of a continuation on?
So that's got to be the dumbest director in the history of American film.
Yes.
Because I'm absolutely available. Here I am.
Sorry, I don't catch the
The
question.
Green Inferno is the name of the movie we were making.
Yes.
So there's a guy named Dumb Shit who made a movie called The Green Inferno.
Right.
It was supposed to be some version of what we did or some shit like that. And he could have sold at least an extra ticket. But he never, and I know a lot of people still down in Hollywood, and people who know him, and he never reached out. So no, I didn't see it.
On principle.
On principle, but there's also a book called They Eat Their Own. I think They Eat Their Own.
Yeah.
By if you haven't seen my interview on the the Grindhouse version, it was also on YouTube. If you search for me on YouTube, you'll find my interview that's on that DVD. And she saw that interview, and she wrote a whole book based on my interview. Didn't tell me, got it published, bunch of my friends call me and go, this woman owes you like residuals for this book. I said, do you have any idea how the publishing business works? She's not getting anything. Anyway, I read the book, and there's things that are only in that interview that are in that book. So it was really clear that so I wrote to her, I tried to track her down. I called, I found out where she worked, and I called. And,
Of course she doesn't answer.
no, she doesn't answer,
Of course.
but
What do you
she
expect?
sent me a copy of the book and wrote, thank you for your work, something like that. It was an interesting book.
I think Darryl knows it, so you can chase him. Possibly, maybe.
Okay, one last question. One very last question.
There's a lot of research that says that horror films help people process things going on in their own lives. In Cannibal Holocaust, I only watched it myself about 6 months ago. It was an intense experience. Did you ever think about how actually intense films like that help people? Because I know that you found it quite a horrible experience, and thank you for sharing that story. Did you ever think that actually might be helping people who are
Not
watching?
until I started doing these shows. I
No,
had
this is
idea.
the first time I do something like this,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting. Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah, once I started meeting you guys, then I got it.
Yeah, you should be proud of it, really.
No, okay, in a way or another, I'm proud, otherwise I would not be here. So, no, No, I just remember my story of 50 years ago. Yeah, remember, 50 years ago, it was a long time ago. It was everything in society was completely understood. Everything, so 50 years. Thereafter, yes, of course I'm very happy about it. Would I do it again? Yes. You want to know the truth? Yes, of course. Knowing the outcome, of course. Not knowing the outcome, I don't know. But look at the outcome. Of all the work I've done, Cannibal Holocaust is the only one. I think it's the only one for him, for me, for everybody has been in this movie. So, of course, you say, thank you, Cannibal Holocaust. Beautiful. Of course I will do it again.
Well, I have to say this, one more thing. So I was talking to Graham, who put the show together, and he's all nervous, and I'm worried. That's all you need to do is worry. That's what you've done your work. Just keep worrying for the rest of the weekend. You're going to lose money. Don't worry about it. I said, you really have to understand, because so many of you come to the table and told me how happy you are that I'm here. And I said, you made a lot of people happy, a lot of people, including me. I'm really glad to meet you. I spent almost 20 years in Hollywood. I learned how to really schmooze people and lie to them right to their face, but to feel this joy that people have to meet me, that's been, I don't want to say overwhelming. It's not quite overwhelming, because then it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to do it together. And I really, really appreciate how warm a welcome I've gotten here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Carl.
guys.
Be nice to these
Thank
people.
you.
Be nice to them.